perpetuated.
The 3 electoral votes is kind of a peripheral kind of icing on the cake, but
I like to say it.
but just the mere fact that you're consenting to that, you're still voting for a Democrat or a Republican. We're all on the same team.
That's right.
Right.
And sadly, we think we're participating. You know, now they can look into your eyes and say you actually are participating. I mean, it's a lie by omission. They don't tell you the whole truth. They tell you that they're representing you, with 3 electoral college votes.
So then what are the other 435?
Does it matter? It's not yours. That's my point. The Senate actually gets to move around the rest of this stuff. Remember that it's just the board of directors. And see, you get 3 electoral college votes, and they vote the rest of them. What's the likelihood that they don't pick the winner every time? That was a rhetorical question. Here's another one. If what I'm saying is true, and it is, does the District of Columbia, it actually states, I believe, that does the District of Columbia residents have, wait a minute, it says the states have congressional voting representation. The states. Now, if you are a resident of the District of Columbia, do you fall within that definition? Do you reside in the states? If you're a resident of the District of Columbia?
No.
No, you reside here. Only the states have congressional voting representation. Should you expect to be represented in Congress? No. How could you? You're a resident of the District of Columbia. It blows my mind that people don't talk about this stuff. Because they're afraid that you can't, there's nothing that we can do. Bull. You realize that we always control everything by our consent. And it gets worse because I'm gonna try to stay on track here. Does everybody get this? See, we have to cut the ties to this garbage. We're actually the ones that are causing all this. So let me just go. Now I'm gonna really get into the 14th Amendment issues. So I got this a couple years ago when I still believed I was a patriot. I'm not anymore because I'm not going to fight for my own demise. This is from Don Manzullo, and this is their corporate charter. And when I first got this, I used to sit out in the yard, and I had all these different colors and things that you see here. Those are different days, months, weeks of me investigating this crap. And now I realize this should be in my bathroom. Just in case I run out of real toilet paper or Federal Reserve notes. In that order. But anyway, this bright orange thing here is the 14th Amendment. I'm going to tear this up and then we're going to be done. And then I'll field any questions. Section 1, there's 4 sections. There's 5 actually. There's actually only 4. But the 5th section says, the Congress shall, this is one of my favorites, and very rarely, I'm saying it now up front because I'm afraid I'll forget it. Section 5 says, the Congress shall have power to enforce by appropriate legislation the provisions of this article. Why does it say that?
Loophole.
It's a loophole because this is not the Constitution. It's a corporate charter called a Constitution, and they need to legislate their authority because it's not an amendment to the Constitution. They need to say, we can do this because we say we can do it.
They can create any rule they want.
It's a living document at this point.
Whatsoever, with that little caveat.
That's right. So, here we go. Section 1. I've already started, but I'm going to cover a couple of legal terms here because they don't use words. When you listen to President Obama speak, he's not speaking English. He's speaking legalese. The things coming out of his mouth are not words. You need a law dictionary to understand what it is he's saying.
Is that like Swahili?
In his case, yes. By the way, I've said this before, the whole, what is it, I can't even remember right now what movement, where you can't talk about other stereotypes and politically correct movement, sorry. that gets left at the door. We can say anything we want here because I'm not gonna talk about things that aren't true or true. It really is. No political correctness in this room. That's the rule. Here we go. Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States. We know what persons are. They're fictional characters. Born or naturalized in the United States. It does not say United States of America. It says United States. And subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Subject to. Let me read from their Bible what subject to means. Okay, remember, all you 14th Amendment citizens out there, all you flag-waving patriots, subject to, liable, subordinate, subservient, inferior, obedient to, governed or affected by, provided that answerable for. All persons are subservient to the United States. Does that sound like freedom?
Sounds like slavery.
13th Amendment states that slavery, but it says voluntary servitude is a possibility. So by design, are we deceived into servitude? You better believe it. How many people would want to be U.S. citizens knowing that? None! Dave.
And the thing about the 14th Amendment, it was supposed to enshrine the citizenship of slaves, in particular black African slaves, but it doesn't say that. It says all persons.
Blacks were considered property prior, and the person's status, the personhood status, it's a status, it's a political status. The status of person has always existed. It goes all the way back to Rome, for some of you that said that earlier today. The status of person goes all the way back to Rome. The person has been around forever. This is not something new. But they did introduce it in 1868. So, how many people want to be a United States citizen when they find out that you're subordinate? Why is it that they treat us so poorly? Because they can. Because we are subservient. If we claim personhood status. If you're a man or a woman, you're not a person. But here's what's interesting about that. There's not just one person. A person is actually a persona. You can be a father, that's a persona. That's a person. But they're all usually commercial entities. If you and there's some good stuff out there. I recommend Robert Menard up in Canada. There's a lot of good guys out there. But he explains persons very well. If you join a health club and you have that card, that's a persona. That's one person. Is it the legal person they're speaking about? No, it's not. So is that a contract? Yes, it is. But is it a contract with the government when you have a contract with the health club? No, it isn't. But it is a person. So when we talk about getting rid of the person, we're talking about getting rid of the legal entity called person under the 14th Amendment, not your health club membership. That is a person. It's a corporate fiction that you have to. That's the only way to interface with another corporation. You have to establish the personhood status. So when I say person, I mean legal fiction for this entity, the 14th Amendment. So all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction. What is jurisdiction? Jurisdiction is authority. The authority of what? The United States. So all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to, subservient to, obedient to, the jurisdiction of the United States are citizens of the United States. What does that mean? Why is it that there's... And this is one of those patriot myths that I can't stand. The 14th Amendment citizen, in their writings, is a small c citizen, whereas an Article 4 citizen of a Union state is a capital C citizen. Why is there a difference? There is. Look in your Constitution to see the difference yourself. The privileges and immunities have a capital P, a capital I for the Article 4 citizen of the Union state out here. They have real state 10th Amendment protections. Here's a question for you guys. Obviously, I'm drawing a dividing line, so you already know the answer. If you claim citizenship to this, And this is where the Constitution lives. Should you ever even expect constitutional protections over here? How could you? You've given them up. The moment you register for this private system, you have given up the Constitution. So when you walk into their private courtrooms under the Department of Justice, where this is, should you expect the Constitution to be there to protect you? No. Is it ever there to protect you? No. See, it all starts to make sense. So let me just keep going. So all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state, the District of Columbia, wherein they, who the persons reside. Where are the persons created? In the District of Columbia. All persons are born there. I'll explain that in a second. That's really how this all got started. I mean, the fact that you're here today is because I wanted out completely. And I got tased last January in Roscoe, Illinois, for allegedly not using a turn signal. And that was the day I quit. I said, I'm done.
Can I just, before we go off on that, can I just ask you a question here? So, all this stuff over here on the right, which I hate to think that it's on the right, but all this stuff on the right over here. You should change that around. Yeah.
It's now on the left.
I can't see it. All this stuff on the right is all, because you have to replace our free-form government with a uniform government. So that replacement government, although it resembles the Constitution, it's now primarily statutory and administrative type rules and laws that they've created under like a commercial code type situation, right?
Right.
And then, so having it under this over here on the right, you can't really flip around in like a judicial situation and say, I'm a free citizen, but I'm consenting to all your administrative stuff over here.
In the original Article 3 judiciary, let me just read it. There were 4 types of law. You had the common law, which was for the folks that lived on the soil of the Union States. You had equity, which was contracts between the people. You had admiralty / maritime. What is that? Maritime contracts are international contracts by nature, and admiralty is a maritime contract during emergency or wartime. So those are the only possibilities. And that was in the constitutional world. Over here, there's only one. They've merged them all together, and it became the Uniform Commercial Code. It became all commercial, and it's all contract. There is no common law. There is nothing that resembles it. It's like being at an auction. You don't even know you're involved. You raise your hand to wave at a buddy, and you're standing before a magistrate because you realize you just purchased something called 30 days in jail.
It wasn't lawnmower.
Yeah, it wasn't the lawnmower you thought it was. The point is that it's all commercial contract, and there is no law. Law disappeared completely 100% in 1938 with Erie, Pennsylvania versus Tompkins. It was gone. All law disappeared completely. They had some semblance of law up until that point, but after Erie Tompkins, it disappeared. Everything is now Uniform Commercial Code, completely written by the Vatican. So
It's a ruse of law.
yeah.
Well, that's what it is, because on Madigan's website, they preach about the common law.
Yeah.
That's what she's all about.
Well, I'm not in a course that I'll be doing on trust in a couple months. When you realize that the common law was actually established in 1307,
Right.
and it's not what people think it is either. That's not God's law,
No, it's precedent.
and that as well was established by the Vatican. So I'll go into that some other day, but that's certainly not for the 14th Amendment. Sorry. By the way, who here receives their mail with a zip code? Remember in 1864, the United States Post Office was created? The zip codes are federal territories. If something comes in what looks like your name through a zip code, that's the person. That's the 14th Amendment citizen. That's the presumption. And it looks like your name. It could be in all caps, it may not be, but most of the time it usually is. In fact, everything out of this place, including the IRS and things like that, all comes in all caps. Look it up in your dictionary. It's called capitis diminutio maxima. It's a lowering of status to the person. But it's a resident. When you claim zip code status, you're claiming federal territorial residence. When you claim that, it's like the man down on the ground on the soil reaching up into the fictional world, and once you grab that mail out of your box, you've attached yourself to the person called the 14th Amendment citizen. And now you're responsible for everything that brings with it. So don't think that just by thinking you're not participating. There are so many attachments at this point. This is one diabolical group of people. And I do mean people, actually. So, let's move on. That's section 1. I'm not going to cover section 2, but it does relate, and it's a little too difficult for a first day. Let's go to section 4. Section 4 just...
I think that second sentence is very appropriate also.
Okay, want me to cover it?
Yeah.
Thank you, because this is...
State.
Yeah, it says, but remember, it's whatever they want it to mean. This is their legalese. It says, the second sentence, thanks Bruce, no state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges, small p, and immunities, small I, of citizens, small c, of the United States. Nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. Think about this. You used to be here. That looks a little better. You used to be here. And the 10th Amendment would protect you. But when you claimed U.S. citizenship, this state can no longer protect you because you claimed to be a resident of this state. So it says, no state shall deprive those over there. When you claim U.S. citizenship, you put yourself in here, and now, because of that claim, the protections laid down by the 10th Amendment cannot protect you because you chose to be living under those rules. So it says no state, see they changed it around now, no state shall abridge the privileges and immunities. If you go into your Black's Law again, there's two separate forms of privileges and immunities. There's the 14th Amendment privileges and immunities, which are small p, small I, and then there's the Article 4 citizenship of the Union State privileges, capital P, capital I, immunities. Those are protections by the 10th Amendment. You see, when you claim to want to be a beneficiary of this 14th Amendment system, this private system, where they give you Social Security benefits, and they give you all these other goodies. When you start claiming those goodies, you're here, and you lose the rights, the unalienable rights given to you by God over here. You're done. You traded, and I mean this, you traded your freedom for goodies. And no state shall protect you because they don't have the authority anymore to stop what's going on over here. You've claimed it, you want that, that's what you get, and I'll be darned if the state, the Union State, can help you.
Is that where misprision of treason comes in?
I'm gonna cover that, but that's...
But is that what's going on? Have you just committed a treason for doing that? Misprision of treason by leaving the Illinois state and voting yourself into...
Yep, voter's registration. Yep, thanks Eric. So, does everybody understand why the second sentence, now all of a sudden, when they speak of a state, they're talking about the Union State. And the Union State can no longer protect you. So, now we'll go to section 4. Is that good?
Figuratively, that is the fence that they have erected and abolishes the sovereign state.
They made it so the sovereign state was impotent because you've chosen your path. You Just like the Declaration says, governments are instituted by the consent of the governed. You've now consented to this system, and this system can't protect you.
So
By your choice.
talk nullification and all that. What is that?
It's irrelevant.
Okay.
Because there are no people in the Union States anymore. They all claimed personhood status over here, so there are no people and there are no governments in the Union States. That's why the state of Illinois, I'll explain that before we close up here, but the state of Illinois and the Union State of Illinois have nothing in common.
No, the real state.
Yeah, they can't help you. Here's a man of flesh and blood on this soil. Here is a fictional person that claimed personhood through the 14th Amendment. They don't actually interface anymore. The fictional guys live and die by the rules over here. And you have claimed attachments to this. That's why the police, when they come and pick you up, they put a body attachment on you. And so here's the fiction over here living under these rules, and then they come over here and extricate the man from the soil and throw him in their warehouse called a jail. There is no way to save these people. It's their choice. They need to back out of this. They need to cut the ties. They need to decide. We can't do it for them. Because there is no Union State. It exists only in geography. There is no government for Illinois, the Union State. There are no people populating it anymore. Even it's a hard concept.
There's a million Hispanics that are not U.S. citizens. In Illinois.
You know what? I'm good with that. As long as they're willing to create what's required or fall under the real leadership.
But they're not citizens of the Union State of Illinois either.
Well,
No, you're supposed to be. You ultimately, the law of nations states that you are a citizen of the nation of your father's birth. That's the way it works. It's worked that way forever, and that's the way it always will work. So if you're a citizen of Mexico, you're going to be a citizen of Mexico. Now, can you do something different and become like they used to do? Can you fit into this? Yes, but it'd be easy now because there's no government. I would welcome a whole lot of Mexicans in Illinois just to take back this. Seriously, if they had the same spirit and the same understanding of what's going on here, welcome aboard, welcome home.
Yeah,
Because freedom is freedom.
How do we get our freedom back? Are we going there?
It's so simple it boggles the mind.
Let's have it.
Okay, well let me just finish this because you need to hear this. There's only one. This is it.
Okay.
It's only 3 more hours. Okay, does everybody get this concept? It ultimately is this simple. Remember the original 13th Amendment said no titles of nobility. And what do they have? Nothing but esquires, nothing but lawyers or attorneys involved. So here we go. This is really the focus. Section 3. Wait a minute. It says the validity of public debt shall not be questioned. You need to know this. Why? Section 4 says that the validity of the public debt shall not be questioned. In every society, every form of law, ecclesiastical, common, it doesn't matter, legal society, in every form, as a debtor, you are disabled legally. You have no rights until the creditor is paid off. So when you claim U.S. citizenship, you automatically become a debtor to the public debt. You are attaching yourself to that. So that being said, do you have rights? No. So, and it goes along with all this stuff. Not only do you give it up here, but you're also attaching yourself to the public debt, and now you have no legal rights to speak either. They've got you coming and going. And you think that that's a benefit to be a U.S. citizen. I say it's an anchor.
Kurt, has there always been debt?
Yeah, because the Constitution was written to make everybody constitutors. This here, though, remember the Constitution disappeared back in 1861, so they had to find a new way to do it, and they did. So, yeah, there was 10 years there where it looks like you might have been free, but you were for 10 years until they redesigned everything and gave it back to the Crown. So does everybody understand the public debt? As a debtor, you are legally disabled. When you walk into a courtroom, you have no rights because you are a debtor, and that's been the case throughout history. So they attach the debt to you when you claim citizenship. So now you're claiming this crap, all the goodies over here, but you're also claiming the public debt, which means you've given up your rights legally as well. So you're legally disabled. Section 3. There's 2 parts of this, and then I'm done. I'll take questions. But Section 3 says no person, we already know what that is, shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president. No person. We already know what that is. It goes into some gobbledygook, which will make sense in a little bit, but it says, but Congress may, by a vote of 2/3 of each house, remove such disability. But it says no person. What do we know of the person already? We know that the person is a debtor because he's a U.S. citizen. So what is one disability they have to remove? Citizenship. Those in Washington, D.C. are not United States citizens. Because if they were, they'd be a debtor and be legally disabled. They could not hold office. But Congress removes what? They remove citizenship. So those in D.C. are not citizens. When they are no longer persons, which are citizens, what do they become? The people. So they are the people in D.C., and they don't have legal disabilities anymore because Congress removes it once they accept office. So the people are in D.C. without a debtor status. There's one other side to this. And Eric was bringing it up earlier. When you claim, when you register to vote, you're actually committing a crime. What is it called? It's called misprision. That's M-I-S-P-R-I-S-I-O-N. Misprision. What is misprision? Well, let's just look. Everybody open your Black's Laws. Misprision. See, people don't realize that all this stuff, misprision, it's kind of a weird thing. It says a word used to describe an offense which does not possess a specific name. It goes on to say, but more particularly and properly, the term denotes either one, a contempt against the sovereign, the government, or the courts of justice, including not only contempt of court, properly so called, but also all forms of seditious or disloyal conduct. When you register to vote, you commit an act called misprision. You are actually showing contempt to the Constitution. Your disloyalty to the Constitution. You're actually forming a new form of government over here. A legislative democracy. You're giving thumbs up to a private institution. You're walking away from this, and it's actually a criminal offense. And they treat you like a criminal. Because you are one. That's why there are no criminals in D.C. They're the people in D.C. Because they've by a vote of 2/3 of both houses, they've had the disability of misprision removed from them. So not only are they not debtors, but they've gotten rid of the misprision aspect as well. And you know what we are? We're a bunch of criminals that get treated as such. So can you imagine finding out that after all these years and after promoting all their system, you find out that you've been a criminal just by the act of registering to vote for a private system, and then they take themselves out of that system so they can rule over you. That's what's happening. And now I'm going to close with this so you understand the concept of states, because it's really important. Oh, yeah. So here's the way the states work. I'm going to use Arizona because somebody brought up the Mexicans. Damn those Mexicans. It's not their fault. They were being invited for a reason. Well, you're totally here illegally. So I'm going to use Arizona for a reason. Everybody knows the problem, and I don't mean it in a bad way, but the problem of Mexicans streaming over the borders of Arizona. I brought a map with me today so we can look at that. Here is Arizona. Arizona has geographic boundaries, does it not? It actually has a landmass. The Union State called Arizona has a landmass with borders. One of those borders is on Mexico. That's the Union State called Arizona. There is another. This is a representation of the state of Arizona. It is a corporate charter. Jan Brewer is the CEO running this private corporation, this private franchise connected to this private United States. This is the state of Arizona. It has nothing to do with the landmass called Arizona. The boundaries of the state of Arizona are probably an 8.5 by 11 sheet of paper. And the state of Arizona is in probably a file cabinet somewhere in the District of Columbia. It is not a physical location. It is a corporation. It is a political subdivision of the United States. Jan Brewer has nothing to do with this landmass whatsoever. Nothing. In fact, legally, she has no authority to do anything with this landmass. There is no government for this landmass. There are no people in this land on this landmass because they've all chosen a new path. This private company, there are no Mexicans flowing across the borders of this. They're flowing across the borders of a union state that has no representatives to stop it. We need to understand that what's happening here, there are no borders anymore because what we have is this fictional, federal, territorial run dictatorship established in 1861, and there's no way to stop it because everybody wants to participate in this system. Illinois, the state of Illinois, is no different than Arizona, the state of Arizona. We can't stop anything either. We don't. This situation here occurs in the state of Illinois as well. There is no borders to the state of Illinois. Folks, this is so upside down and backwards that there's no possible way to stop anything until we get our heads out of our asses. There is no way to stop what's going on. You know what? There's one simple answer for the states: to unincorporate and go back to the union state status. Why? Because when you unincorporate, you get rid of the personhood status. This corporate charter is a person under the 14th Amendment subject to the jurisdiction of the United States. When they unincorporate, fall back into union state status, what happens? You see what happens. All of a sudden, there's a government potential again. But there's no government potential right now. Because everybody wants all the treats. They forget about the tricks. But they want the treats.
They can do that though, unincorporated?
Only if there's some folks that understand this stuff or comprehend it. You see how simple that is? No, here's the way it works.
Let's get there.
There is no way to go back. Even, and I don't normally say this, but even this union state was ultimately owned by the crown. So even the union states were controlled. I don't go there, but there is no way back. We need to start fresh. We actually need to disregard everything, break all contracts, walk away from their system, their financial currency system. We need to cut all ties, all contracts, walk away from this thing. Do not restore some pathetic republic that never was good for us. We were always slaves to that state. We need to stop. We need to stop thinking we were ever free because we never have been free. We need to start over, walk away from their value-based system, or lack thereof. We need to not think that our currency has any value. We have to quit breathing life into the beast, because that's what we do. Our job every day is to prop this crap up. All we have to do is stop breathing life into that beast and cut all ties. But will we do that? No, we won't, because nobody's going to walk away from that brand new big screen TV they just bought. They're holding on to every asset they have, everything, because their entire value system, their entire sense of self-worth is based on their brand new car, the addition on their house, the kids in a private school. Their entire system, how fat their wallet is. That's who they are. You take away this currency system. By the way, the currency system called the Federal Reserve note is a private note. A private note that was created for this system. It is not constitutional money. The Federal Reserve note is not constitutional. It was created because the Union states could not use real money anymore. They had to use the currency. There is no way back. We have to be honest for once in our life. Look, when you get up in the morning, you look into your eyes in the mirror and you realize, what are you willing to do? It's all or nothing. You either are willing to walk away like the Declaration says. What was the last line of the Declaration?
Give our sacred honor, our
lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. Those cats were ready to do whatever was required. No. If I can't make my house payment or my car payment, you know what? We're going to have to be willing to not make any payments. I'm not saying because we can't. I'm saying because we won't. Though every corporate contract that came out of here has been a fraud. 100% has been a fraud. Every banking institution is now running this entire, it looks like a corrupt government. It's not corrupt at all. It's business as usual. It is not corrupt. It's working perfectly. And when they decide to flip the switch to cancel everything, it's over. They take everything. And why? They take everything because we actually will say, we're going to honor their contracts. In a dishonorable system, we're going to honor their contracts. I say, why are we honoring their contracts at all when it's a dishonorable system? We need to walk away from all of it. Who's going to do that?
How do you withdraw this consent?
You mean physically? Here's what happens. And this is, your question was, how do you withdraw? Everybody withdraws their consent from a different way. But ultimately, you can go as far as you want with it. The withdrawal of consent is, it's biblical. Everything I read over the last 2 years, basically, shows one nexus, one cross. And that cross is consent. Everywhere you look, the concept of consent, in all their treaties, in all their documents, the word consent. Consent is the number one issue in all contracts. Without a meeting of the minds, there's no contract at any level. So when I say withdraw consent, I'm saying you have to do something. You can't stay silent. Silence is consent. So you have to be proactive and turn something in to let somebody know that you are not this. So the first thing you do is you learn the words. I have a document that I wrote. I wrote it after 4 days, after being in jail for whatever I was in jail for, after being tased, after my wife got put in jail for swinging her purse after what the other thug from Roscoe was attacking her, while these guys laughed. And then he said, good, now we have her for, what was it? Aggravated assault. Why did they do that? So they could confiscate our car, so they could impound our car, so they could take all our property. Everything is about stealing everything from you. That is their job. Charges. So the point is that how do you withdraw consent? Number one, it has to come from here. It's not from here. If you think it's going to be analytical, it's not. You have to feel your own sense of value. You have to realize that their value system is not worth your life. And that's why this is such a struggle for people. They don't realize that it's about value. It is not about the law. It's about whether or not your life is worth it, whether you're willing to walk away from all the stuff that they say is valuable. I don't think there's anything in the system of value. In fact, there are people right now that are helping build FEMA camps for the overtime so they can buy the big screen TV for camps that they'll eventually wind up in themselves. How stupid are we? So, I don't know how to answer your question because I wrote a document. I will send it to you. I can't give you one right now because I only have one that I carry with me, and it's my protection from the thieves, the thugs, the biggest gang in the world known as the police department. I carry it with me. I'll show it to you, but I'll send it to you. What I do is this. Who is the number one law enforcement officer in Illinois? The Attorney General. I send this document to the Attorney General. I let them know what I'm not and who I am. I send one to the governor. I send one to the Secretary of State. Why? Because your driver's license, the driver's license is commercial. Why is it commercial? Because it deals with a commercial entity. What is that commercial entity? The person. So everything that they've done to you is free. Is that your driver's license? No, it's not. It's the person's. Do you have a Social Security number? No, you don't. You never have. The person has it. But you claim it as yours. See, everything they've done to us is to get us to believe that it's something it's not. And when we attach ourselves to their system, we claim it. We need to just walk away from their entire system. So those are the three at the top of the state. Are you born in Illinois?
And then what is there? If I can disclaim myself from this thing, then what do I have? Do I have...
You have peace of mind. How many people have withdrawn their consent in this room? What does it feel like the moment you drop that stuff in the box?
Beautiful.
Right.
We have personal responsibility. That's what we have.
Wait a minute. Let me answer this. The 16th Amendment, the tax that you're talking about, the taxes, income taxes only apply to U.S. citizens. It does not apply. It only applies to corporate persons that were created as U.S. citizens. It does not apply to the man, the woman, or the people. When you look into the tax codes, nowhere in the tax codes...
Yeah, I understand. But
so
on a practical level, they're going to pull what I got. I won't be able to function in this matrix.
You can, because Hill versus Henkel says that you can contract with anybody you want, but you have to establish your manhood. No offense. You have to establish your manhood first before you can. You're undoing all the garbage. You're negating all the stuff you've done all your life, and then you come back through and you can contract with anybody you want. Can you still have a license, a commercial license to drive? Absolutely. Would you drive with it when you're not driving commercially? Absolutely not. Would you show a cop that when you're out there just traveling from point A to B? No, because it's not required. If you drive for a living, yes, you would show it to them while you're driving for a living. But see, there's so many nuances. I can't answer your question in 5 minutes, but I could answer it over time, and only you can decide how far you want to go into this or out of the matrix. This is the ugliest situation I've ever seen, and the problem is, what am I losing? See, that was your ultimate question. Your question was, what am I giving up? I say you're gaining peace of mind because you're no longer swimming in blood from what the United States actually is. It's a murder machine on a worldwide level. All it does is go through and rape and pillage and kill people for profit. And you know what? That was the reason I initially got out. I got out because I couldn't ultimately deal with the fact that I was promoting it by being a U.S. citizen. The first thing I did was think, I'm no longer going to swim in the blood of the planet. After that, I figured other things out. But I am not going to participate in this garbage. And that's what it is. I'm withdrawing my consent politically, because that's what it is. U.S. citizenship is a political status first. You're cutting the tie to the person. You're no longer part of the statutes. When a cop pulls you over, is he dealing with a man or a person? He's dealing with a person. Because why? The statutes only apply, the statutes that are written as policy here only apply to the person. They do not apply to the man. So when a cop pulls you over, is he talking to you or presuming your personhood? He's presuming your personhood because that's where his authority comes from. My point is, you can take it as far as you want. So locally, what you do is you send in the same document, but you need to learn it. I mean, there's a lot to it. But you need a Black's Law 5th edition or older. You need to look at these words and understand what the legal terms actually mean. When you understand it, and I walk anybody through it, but when you understand it, then you feel different. You go, wow, you know what? This really makes perfect sense. And you feel cleansed because you're no longer participating in the ugliest thing I've ever imagined in my life. This is the war machine that was established by the Vatican to murder everything on the planet. All the chemtrails in the world are coming from this beast. The fluoride in water is being spread by this beast. Everything imaginable on a planet Earth that's bad is from this United States, not from America. This has been established exactly for what's happening right now. And you know what? We are the ones that prop it up, like I say. We breathe life into this. The Declaration states very clearly that governments, doesn't matter what style, governments are instituted by the consent of the governed. We are consenting by our participation or our silence. We need to withdraw that consent to stop. Do you realize that, and I'll close with this, every cop that pulls you over to beat your ass, to tase you, to murder you, whatever, every cop that does that has your consent. You authorize it the moment you signed up for your driver's license. And what's worse is they're our brothers, our uncles, our fathers, our sisters, our family members. The cops that are doing this to us are us. The doctors prescribing the drugs that are shooting the children up or putting in the tracking devices, call it what you want, they're your grandfather, your grandmother, your uncle.
Cain, Sue, Abel, and it's been going on ever since.
And they're us. The New World Order cannot progress without our help. We are killing ourselves, and why? For the big screen TV, for the fat woman.
TV. Believe me, it ain't for the TV.
Yes, it is.
And
it's for the stuff.
Please.
They know the difference between a person and a man. Because I have the vehicle code in my home, and there's nowhere in there. When you say I am not a person or I'm a man, it stops them in their tracks. Because they know the difference.
We just put a new Congress in there. Did they take them into a closet over there and show them the ropes? This is what it is.
First, I can answer. That's a two-part question. Number one, we didn't do anything. You don't have any authority to elect anybody because you have no congressional voting representation. Remember that. You didn't ever pick anybody. They did. And to answer the second part of that, yes, they do. They have an option from the moment they get voted on. And a friend of mine, Joyce Rosenwald in California, has been doing this stuff for 35 years. And she's been nothing but, she's been a researcher for 35 years. She says, Kurt, I don't have any evidence of this, but I do know this happens. When, between the moment they get elected, the 2 months, the space in between, they are told how they're going to do things. And if they don't, and here's the deal. they're instant millionaires through the CAFR, the CAFR, the profitability of this. So they're set for life. They're set for life. And the other side of it is they're threatened. So their choice is, do I follow through on this and become set for life financially, and I don't get killed, or my family members don't get killed? That's that one side. The other is, I don't take the office. That's their choice. So when they walk into this, they are absolutely 100%. Look at every single Tea Partier that got brought into the system recently. They folded immediately. Why? Because now they're playing ball. They're millionaires. Do you really think that this system isn't going to win unless we just yank ourselves out of it? We're propping it up. It is that simple. Consent, everybody says, Kurt, what are we going to do? I'm sorry. Nothing. We're going to aggressively do nothing by withdrawing our consent. They know what we're doing.
I'm sorry, I mean, we need to go and arrest everybody in D.C. and put them on trial. Have our own juries, grand juries, put them on trial.
Everybody that's even thought of that, if they're U.S. citizens, they're going to be thrown in jail or murdered.
They're even gonna murder us if we got 1 million people to do it.
We will never have one.
My point is that it's not, nobody gets this stuff. It is not those in D.C. that are doing it. We are.
Well,
no, they can't. There's 445 or 35 people. They're not doing it. We are. We're the ones putting ourselves in jail. The judges are putting us in jail, but they're our family members. We are the ones doing it. I don't even give a shit what's going on in D.C. Not even a little bit. We are the ones doing it to ourselves. The moment we wake up to that fact is the moment this shit stops. I am sorry, but I can't ever agree that they're doing it to us. We are. We can't do anything to stop this until we recognize who the absolute beast is, and it's the beast within us. We need to stop it from within.
but the Vatican and the folks in London,
There
are systems that they've set up to be able to.
And you know what they're doing? They're using our human nature against us. And the moment people quit valuing the dollar is the moment it stops. This is a value-based problem, folks. It's not anything to do with these people. It has to do with us. If we didn't consider the wallet more important than our neighbor, that's what the problem is. We're more concerned with the big screen TV than we were with the safety of our neighbor. That is the problem. It is spiritual, 100% spiritual. This has nothing to do with law. It happens to do with the heart and the fact that we are treating our neighbors as we feel about ourselves. Love thy neighbor as thyself. Guess what? 90% of the people I meet hate their existence. And you know what? Their neighbors are absolutely being treated accordingly. I can't stand the thought of most of the people that are more concerned with the freaking public school system than they are with the welfare, and I mean truly the welfare, of their own family. Their sisters, their brothers, their neighbors. They're more concerned with what's in it for me. We're going to lose. We've already lost. We've lost because we don't recognize that these are not the enemy. We are. The moment we're done, we're done. The moment we're done looking at them because they're the scapegoat for us. We can keep talking about them, but we're the problem. That's what I can't stand. This is not the issue. This is the obvious what's wrong. But you know what? Every judge in Rockford lives in Rockford. They are related to somebody. We should never speak to another attorney because every attorney in America works for the crown. So if you have a brother, a son, a father that's an attorney, I would never speak to him again because they know this shit. They're the enemy. They're the ones that are putting people in jail for profit. So until we recognize who the problem is, it is not these people. Amen. It is us.
Some people need to be in jail.
You got an argument with me. I'm done. And my point is, we allow this stuff. It's all consensual. And you know what? Everybody in those, there is no courtroom in America. They're all banks. There is no courtroom. They're all banks. So when people realize there is no law.
I can get all those concepts, but
what?
there's got to be something else. There's not.
No, there is nothing else.
There's one game.
No, it's us. When we're tired enough when we're beaten down enough, when they're marching in the streets, when we finally see it, that the guy pointing the freaking rifle at your head is your neighbor. It's over. And now you realize that it is us. But it is us. We're marching against ourselves. Who actually is, who's protecting these people? The police.
Oh, yeah.
The fire departments. The attorneys.
The media.
The judges. The media. Everyone. There are people that go to their job at WROK that are passing erroneous, fake, artificial information every day. You know what? For what? A paycheck. You just said the key word. Truth. That's all it is. When something's happening right in front of us and we deny it. And that's it. I mean, if we can't work together for once on this planet, and we're not going to work together. I already know this. I mean, the Christians are angry at the Muslims. The blacks are angry at the whites. You got the rich are trying to protect stuff from the poor. Supposedly, and again, I've only read this recently, but the Rothschilds supposedly have a net worth in the $23-24 trillion range. Now, what did I just say? The Rothschilds have a net worth worldwide, globally, of somewhere between $23 and $24 trillion. That's only if we value the dollar. The moment we walk away from their system of value, they can't even put food on their table. Because we're the ones that are giving it value. We need to say, you know what, we're going to create our own. I don't know what that system is, but I know it's not the one we currently have. If we walk away from their private currency system, they can't even feed themselves because they don't bring anything. They don't bring anything to the table. Nobody. In fact, if we created our own, that giant Mundelein family will starve. We control that, but we won't give up our currency system because that's who we are. We identify with our stuff.
It's because we don't have an alternate. We don't have an alternate
You know what?
system.
You can never wait till the ducks are all lined up. You got to just jump. I know it's scary, but I'm
wait for them to put the water in the pool first.
I agree with that, but the sad thing is, does this make sense? But that's the thing, is it really is. They're not the problem. They look like the problem.
I know.